Is this the Murray house? Running parachute.exe after getting executive access leads to a ride that goes up to what appears to be the house we see at the beginning of the game. But is it? When you enter the house from research and development, stacks of identical furniture line the hallway like stage props. If you notice, the vase we see in the recording of David's second birthday has been swapped for a more basic version of itself. In fact, most of the decor seems like simplified versions of the real thing. Well, except for the creepy unicorn head. Searching the house for exits just leads to dead ends. In one of Fiona's messages, she tells Edwin, "You can stay up at the main house," even though we're in the house elevator, as if there is more than one house on the property. And why would Edwin make so many strange modifications to a house that clearly means so much to him? Finally, when you go up to Edwin's office, if you try to look at the outside of the house, it doesn't really look like a house. It looks like a factory, specifically the factory that's on display in the attic. But that would be crazy, right? To build a fake house? And we've never even seen anything like that before in the franchise, right? Well, anyone who has read Tales from the Pizzaplex will tell you we have. In the final book of the series, B7-2, there's a story called Ditaphobia. It's about a kid named Rory. Rory spends his days in a haze looking for an exit from his house and wondering where his parents are, and his nights being tormented by Nightmare Chica, Bonnie, and Foxy. The Foxy especially bothers him because it comes from his closet. Now, Rory seems shockingly unconcerned by the fact that his parents appear to have abandoned him and that his house is haunted, until one day he wakes up and he's about a decade older. It's then that he discovers that he's been living in a fake house with no exits, just reliving the same day over and over and over again. He manages to break out of the house through the fridge, only to find he's in what we know to be the sister location bunker. We know this because the book describes the same posters we see in the elevator and the observation center in the secret office. While exploring, Rory finds out he's been breathing in a gas that makes him open to suggestion, even to the point that he believed he was a child when he was actually a young adult. Fans who read this immediately saw the connection between Rory's story and the protagonist from FNAF 4, but we weren't sure what to do with it until now. I think Secret of the Mimic shows us how those two stories line up. If the house we visit is a copy of the Murray house, that actually makes a lot of sense. You've got a robot that's unstable and hard to control. You wouldn't bring it to your real home full of personal memories. You'd build a replica, a safe environment to train it where it can't escape or cause damage. Then, when Edwin dies and Fazbear takes over the MCM, William would find the house in the bunker. At first, it wouldn't seem important, but later, when he wants to conduct certain experiments, he'd remember he already has the ideal location. In the story, Rory is being experimented on. A hallucinogenic gas is pumped into his room through two vents. That should sound familiar if you've played UCN. Rory doesn't even notice the vents until the machine that's pumping in the gas breaks. It's only when he's freed from the effects that he can see the house clearly. This would explain why the vents exist in UCN but not in FNAF 4, because William would know they're there, but the victim wouldn't as long as the gas keeps flowing. So narratively, let's see if we can put this together. Edwin builds a fake version of his house to train the mimic. After Edwin's death, William takes over the MCM and inherits the fake house. When Michael accidentally causes his brother's death, William repurposes that same house for his own experiments, forcing Michael to relive his brother's final week again and again as punishment. Michael would stay there until some kind of system malfunction occurred. Then, the events of Sister Location would happen, which works because he's already in the bunker. Later, between FNAF 1 and 3, Michael returns to the bunker and reactivates the system himself. That's when we experience FNAF 4. With this timeline, the Easter eggs in FNAF 4 make sense. When Michael looks at the phone, sometimes it stirs memories of his time as a night guard. Toy Chica, having lost her beak, also fits because the last time Mike saw her, that's what she looked like. It would also explain the weird Freddy plushies and the observation office. William has to keep reinforcing the idea that Mike is his brother, not himself, or else Mike's identity might return. It also explains the similarities between the FNAF 4 house and the Murray house. Neither of them are real. They're both fake experimentation areas where fathers try to control their misbehaving sons. Of course, there are a few weak points to this theory. The vents in UCN don't really prove anything since UCN takes place in Williams Head and every area has vents. The fire also complicates things. The Murray house is burning when you leave the MCM, which suggests it is directly connected to the factory. And finally, for Michael to escape, William would need to be spring-locked already. So how does he send Michael to find Elizabeth if he's sealed away? Despite all of this, I think this theory still fits. It cleans up who the protagonist of FNAF 4 is. It also explains why the FNAF 4 house and the Murray house look so similar, because neither of them are houses, they're both experiment areas. Did I miss anything? Do you have evidence that supports or totally disproves my ideas? Let me know in the comments, and always, thanks for watching.